Hello, and welcome to SUNSPIRATION. I'm always excited when it's Sunday because I know I'm going to deliver this powerful message. SUNSPIRATION is inspiration from the Holy Bible. I believe when a human being was created, the Holy Bible is the manual that was given to see how to control this machine that we call the human being. So every Sunday I dig into the Bible to get some inspiration just to fire you up for the week. And as the name goes, SUNSPIRATION is your Sunday inspiration. This month, I've been looking at a great topic to kick us off as we actually start the year. And there's three main questions we ask ourselves at the beginning of the year. What do we want? That's the first question. Next question is, where do you get it? Because anything you want, you're going to think about where you're going to get it from. And the third question is who? Who can hold your hand and get you there? Or who can you see there that inspires you to help you get there? Or who can mentor you? Who can coach you to actually get to where you're trying to get to? And today I'm looking at the story of Moses and Joshua. Now we're very familiar with the story of Moses in the Bible, which was put underwater by his mother because the king had ordered that all the children born at that time should be killed. And so the Pharaoh's daughter found him and kept him for a while. And then when he grew up in the palace and he had to run away because God had a special mission for him, which was to rescue the people from the Egyptians. That's God's people, the Israelites. And when Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt and they went into the wilderness and they got to Jordan, where they're about to cross the Jordan, go into the promised land that God had promised them. And then Moses thought, hang on here, before we go into this promised land, God told him, send 12 spies to go in there, go and have a look around, have a feel of it, and even bring back some produce, some fruits from the promised land. And so Moses chose 12 people from the 12 different tribes to send them into the place. And that brings us to our first point. One of the people Moses chose was Joshua. Now the first point is, when Moses was making those choices to choose 12 people from the lands, I always wondered, how did Moses pick these people? And when I read, I realized that they were all leaders in their communities. And I think I was each challenged too personally, because I sort of felt, well, Victor, you live in England. If they need to choose people who love Nigeria so much, or Africa, to actually go and speak on their behalf, will you qualify? Now, I might never really get chosen because there's millions of Nigerians that live in the UK or in other parts of the world. But at least I can look at my life, look at myself in the mirror and say, am I showing that positive image of Africa or Nigeria where I'm living? And just by doing that, I'm impacting lives around me because I'm spreading that positive message about my community. So in as much as you might be thinking, well, there's so many of us, I might not be chosen to actually do this. Or you might not feel like you're a leader that can represent your tribe or your community. At least you can live a life so that when the time comes and they need to make a choice, you could be one of the people that could be chosen. And that's number one. Number two, when they came back from the land, they came back and brought fruit. They're all excited. And Moses said to them, guys, what do you see there? Tell us about it. And Joshua and Caleb said, wow, it's a beautiful land. And everybody else said the same thing. But obviously the 10 other people now decided to spoil the whole show. And they decided to say, well, it's a lovely land. It's beautiful. It's got lots of lovely, great things. But, you know, when you say something positive and you throw but inside, it cancels everything else that you've said. And so that word but just ruined it all. But they're big giants, but there's so much trouble, but it's fortified, but I don't think we can conquer them. And then the bad news came out. But Joshua and Caleb said, come on, God has promised us this land. I know we can get through. I know we can do this. Come on, guys. I know we can. But the 10 other people, so imagine it was 10 people saying one thing and 2 people saying the other. Which ones are people really going to believe? Of course the 10, because that's the majority. And I think that's what's happening so often in this world. We're getting carried away too much. People are twisting the truth just to make their lives better or easier. But it's so difficult to stand for the truth in this world that we live in now. And that's why I'm trying to encourage everybody. This is a time in which we just need to just stand for the truth. The world is going through so much. Some people are arguing whether COVID exists or not. That's not what I'm talking about here. There's so much arguments about a vaccine or not, about we're looking at things that we're saying to ourselves. Clearly, you can see something is wrong, but the majority are saying it's okay, it's right. And before we realize, the world gets engulfed by the wrong thing. But so it's so difficult to really stand for the truth. And I want to encourage you, just stand for the truth. I want to give you guys a good example before I go to the third one. I know when I started working for a company about 15 years ago, it was a railway company. And there was this guy who knew so much about the railway. And I used to work with him because he used to tell me so much. He used to teach me so much. Now, because he was like a railway enthusiast, there were a lot of things in which he wasn't really in his pay grade. But he used to learn about it still anyway. He used to ask a lot of questions when he saw people who knew more about him, the railway about him. He used to go and tell me, in fact, he used to show me so many things that had nothing to do with my job at that particular time. And because of that, so many people did not like him. So at the station, many people didn't like him because they felt he was, what we call ITK, I too know. But the reality was, I just thought, I can learn so much from this guy. So I just focused on learning from him every single time. I just sat there and listened to him. He just taught me so many things that were even irrelevant. And fast forward a few years later, I got promoted and I became one of the managers. And I had to go on a course which lasted about 6 months. And I had to go to a school where you study for about 10 weeks, and then you come back and you have to learn all the tracks and all the signals and everything else, which we used to call route learning. And when I came to do route learning, you're given 12 weeks to do a route learning. My colleagues that I went to training with, they took about 12 weeks completed. I completed mine in 7 weeks. How could I get mine so quickly? How could I cut it down by 5 weeks? Because of all the things that guy had taught me before a long time ago. And because he told me over and over and over again, it stuck in my head. So while others were trying to learn it fresh, I knew them already. And that's why I could get everything done in 7 weeks. That was my reward. So when you look at life sometimes, people are all going one way. And then you get tempted to follow the crowd. Many people at the station didn't like him. But I thought, I'm not going to just follow the crowd because he's not done nothing wrong to me. I'm actually learning from him. So I chose to listen to him, actually learn from him. At the end of the day, years later, it was of good use to me. So guys, you might begin to think, I'll just follow the crowd. But no, please don't. And remember, those 10 people did not just only ruin it for Joshua and Caleb. Those 10 people never saw the promised land. Out of all those that left Egypt, where Moses rescued them, including Moses, only Caleb and Joshua actually saw the promised land. These people were at the Jordan, about to cross over and go in the promised land. But because of their disobedience to God, because of how much they had complained, God sent them round the wilderness again. So remember, disobedience, complaining, disbelieving God could get you into some, I'll put trouble in quote. But also, He's a merciful God. So you can still repent and say, look, I know I've complained too much. I know I've spread negative information, but I choose today to just say, I'm not going to do that again. I choose to stand for the truth. And finally, Joshua, as I said, and Caleb were the only two who saw the promised land. When Moses was about to die, he handed over the leadership over to Joshua. So just by being positive, just by standing strong and saying, I stand for the truth, you'll be amazed at the rewards that you can get. It may be tough now. It may be tough at that time because no one's really going to believe you. But guess what? The truth always prevails. And just by you standing for that truth, like Joshua and Caleb, I can assure you, you will see whatever you want to call your promised land. So as I wrap up, I want to encourage you. Make sure you're standing out. That leader in which you spread positivity. You stand out differently for your community, for your people. Secondly, no matter what the world is saying, you know is not true. Stand for the truth. And finally, if you stand for the truth, there's always a reward for it. As Joshua, he got to lead the people into the promised land and he saw that promised land that God gave them all. As you step in this week, I strongly want to encourage you. Stand for the truth. Stand for the truth. In the midst of all the troubles, stand for the truth. Stay blessed, and I love you all.